Hello friends, and welcome to the second episode of the Combat Mentors Guide. Today, we're gonna be looking into two options located at the main menu that we're gonna be handling so that you have a little bit more of freedom when it comes to setting up your hotkeys to use your damaging skills. At the moment, we're gonna be looking at the keybinds as expected and also the HUD layout. But first, before we get into anything else, let us take a look at the keybinds. I already took my time to set them all by default, but in case you would like to make sure, let us do it. I'm gonna be pasting it on the English keyboard as stated over here, so let us begin. The first hotkeys that we're going to be replacing right away is gonna be the Q and E, since these two stand for strafe left and strafe right. The reason we're changing it is because the move left and move right option are almost the same as the strafe left and right. So, in order to get a little bit more freedom and a few more hotkeys that you could use for your bar, we're gonna be replacing these two right off the bat. The other option that we're gonna be taking off from this bar is gonna be auto run, because auto run, as most of the mouse, they have the mouse tree button, which it is the wheel in the middle. You can just press it and your character is gonna be running automatically. So you can take the R hotkey out of the way and you could save it for another hotkey, let's say here, here, and here. The C for draw and sheath weapon. These two options, I personally use them on my main, but to be fairly honest, I don't find it too much use, because the only time that I have found myself using this, it is a mechanic where you need to stop absolutely everything, and something that I do, it is just like targeting myself instead of just sheath and unsheath the weapon. And that applies mostly if you're like a melee class because of the auto attacks. So you can just take your cursor out of the target, or you can target yourself, meaning that this is safe to be removed. From here, there is another option. This one I personally wouldn't change it. The flip camera option. You can, if you wish. My brother have it removed personally to have more slots on the keybinds, but I don't like to remove it because I am a tank main, sadly, and whenever you're running in dungeons, you will find yourself in this situation where you're running this way and you want to turn around and you want to throw your range attack at the enemies while running. You see, you will want to do that a lot to keep aggro. But if you don't think that that will be useful to you at any time in space, then that is completely fine. You can take it off as well, and you can have more options to set up your main 3 hotbars. Now, the next part that we're gonna be looking at is on target. If you are a person which on your keyboard in MMORPGs you like to use the F options, I personally use from F1 to F4 on my main to cover these first 4 hotkeys, and I will usually replace it with Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3, Alt 4. This works whenever you want to target like a party member. So if I use Alt 1 at the moment, it's gonna target myself, and the same would have happened with F1. You don't always gonna be targeting yourself, except in the previous example that I mentioned with mechanics where you need to stop absolutely everything, and I mentioned that I personally target myself just to avoid that from happening. So if you want to use this option, you can always replace them so you can have a few more slots available. This option I have never found myself using it. In the only scenarios where you're gonna be using this is mainly on a macro. I'm not really gonna be talking about macros, I'm really bad with them, sadly. But you will notice in some places, especially if you're playing Sage, this skill, you will always want to apply it on your main tank. So what that will do, it is that if you're on your solo PvE war attacking the enemy, you will have a macro which is gonna target the target that the enemy is attacking. So you're attacking the target of your target. So in this case, if I would do that, it's gonna target myself in this case. That's pretty much what you want to do on these small scale macros. So the T is safe to be removed. F as well. The F key I find it really useful because this is what it's gonna do. Turn my back on the target, and if I press F, it is gonna turn around. So it's not really something useful, to be honest. You can use this either for another hotkey, or if you want to set up focus target. I will personally say that you can use something like Ctrl F, for example, if you want to set your focus target and then target it directly. But that'll be mostly up to you, as expected. And other than that, we're safe in this area. From shortcuts, there are two of them that I could recommend removing if you're fine with it. One of them is the Y, which is the fishing log. The fishing log, I just don't find myself using it by any chance, not just because I hate fishing, but because even if you were to remove the fishing log, you could just go here in main commands, you go to logs, and then you can have your fishing logs and you can move it here. And you can open it at any time without having to press Y, which you could normally use for another skill. So this one is a safe to be removed. You can also remove the hunting log if you want to go as far to press the letter H as well. This is another one safe to be removed. The one that I personally a little bit conflicted, and I know that it could help some people with a little ease on your gameplay, is gonna be the C, which is for character. This is what it's gonna open this menu, but you can also open it over here. Like, you could also have this option if you want to. So if you want to have all of the lower bar from the C until the V, you can do it. Like, you can remove this and there won't be an issue. You can even set like an alternative hotkey like Ctrl C, for example, and even on the fishing log you can set it up as Ctrl Y. I don't care about the fish guide, honestly. So those are a few alternatives that you can always use. I don't use control, that's why every possible filler, if I can say like that, I always just press the control to replace it. Chat, I believe we don't have anything important here now. Now system. On system, I do believe, here we are, target filters. I'm gonna be honest, this is already a low budget guide, so I'm gonna make it even more low budget. I have no idea in the 2-3 years that I've been playing this game what this is even useful for. I have never used it in my life, nor I believe that it's gonna be useful for anything, at least combat related. So you can just take this off. And with that being said, we have already removed all of the possible keybinds that you can use to manage your hotbars. Now looking into the hotbars, this is the default as you can expect. So it's gonna set you from hotbar 1 and 2. The rest is gonna be completely miscellaneous. So something that I can personally provide as a tip, bear in mind this is all based on preference. So if you are following along with the guide and you see that I'm removing something that you found yourself using during your gameplay, that is okay. I'm just providing you options so that you can handle yourself to the best possible way. So normally I'm sure that we can all agree that pressing from 1 to, let's say, 5, you can even go up to 6, but from pressing from 1 to 6, that is okay. But not too many people want to go all the way from 7 to 0 or from 7 to equals. So what will I do in this case? Here is where you could have the other hotkeys that we mentioned to be applied. Let's say here on my main I will usually use Shift Z until Shift B, but let's set up the ones that I mentioned before. You have C, X, C, V. You can even press B if you don't care about gathering, honestly. Maybe at some point you will be gathering, maybe you won't. But let's say that you won't in this case. You can have the B, and then this one over here, you can also use your mouse keybinds. So mine have up to mouse 5 and mouse 4. So here normally I will set up my mouse for. Now, like I mentioned, I am not a control fan, so normally I use shift. In my personal opinion, it's what I found easier to press. So my second hotbar I will go like this: shift 1, shift 2, 3, 4, 5. And then here I will usually use another hotkey like T or even Y. In my account I have this as X, but I mentioned that for the sake of examples I will set this up here. So let's set this up as shift Q, shall we? Shift Q. The lower bar. Okay, this is what I normally actually use, shift Q. I will figure something out, I promise. Shift Q, shift E, shift R, shift T. This one also is not useful, but I don't expect you guys to follow with the whole shift. This bottom over here is usually the one located at the left side of your number 1 hotkey. And this one here is the one that I normally had as T. Like here I normally have X, like I mentioned, but I'm pretty much on a tough spot right now. I promise, I will figure something out. Third hotbar, I have my F1, F2, F3, F4, and I have Q, E, R. I will normally have T over here, but I'm using it already. So I will have Y over here. As you can see, we have already covered most of the entire hotbar. This part over here, which I normally don't use, I don't really find myself using anytime soon. I normally have it covered with this, and then mouse 5. That is how I personally set these bars. You can always do it at your own end. Now, there are some hotkeys now that I remember that I didn't apply, and I said that you could easily remove. So let's say here, the one that I said I couldn't fill, I could just have it as F. At this one I can have it as G, now that I think about it. I also have the H hotkey that I could use at any time. So looking at it, I can write like this, like this, like this. You normally wouldn't have to cover absolutely everything, but let's go wild. There you go. So my 3 hotbars, they have set up some keybinds that I, to my knowledge and ability, can easily access with my left hand without having to go too far from my keyboard. And this is something that you want to have whenever you're playing, because the better that you can handle your hotbar, the most you can focus on the fight ahead. There are options like the number pad. Sadly my keyboard doesn't have a numpad, so I cannot use this too much. I used to have that set up for options like a sprint, for example, but right now I have to figure it out on my own, so pardon me for that. But this is all that I wanted to set up with the keybinds. Now let's go with the HUD layout. So it's actually gonna hurt me to do this, but just so that we can all go along, let us reset it. There we go. Oh boy, honestly I hate doing that. It hurts me, I promise you. Well, let's go along, shall we? Alright, so cross hotbars. Like I mentioned in my first episode, I am not a console gamer. This is the bar that is always gonna be looking if you're playing like on Xbox or with a PlayStation controller. So I'm just gonna move this right here because we don't need it, and it's just gonna take some space out of our way. Now, enabling and disabling hotbars. If you watch my last episode, you could see that you could enable this on their character configuration. Another way that you can enable this, it is by either right-clicking on it, or if you want to do it the hard way, you can just select over here on the UI Elements settings and you can enable it. It's just that easy, honestly. Now, to make your whole setting up the hotbars and all of this good stuff easier, you can do it by parts. So let's say I want to have the hotbars first. I don't care about the rest. So as you can see, by disabling system and duty, I only have the option to see the hotbars. So let's set the hotbars to my own preference, okay? So beginning with this one, I like to have it this way. Second one as well. Third is fine. And now, as for the other bars that we're gonna have available here, you can easily enable them as I teach you. You can just right click on them and you can select them on each spot that you want on your screen. In this example, I'm just setting it up like this. This is not how I like it, but it's just for you guys to see. So you can all have it set up like this. Nice and easy to save as many spots as you can from your screen. This will help you out on the later future, you can trust me. So we have them all set up like this, okay? Now that we have the hotbars set up, let us move into right click, the system. So let me get this here. I don't normally use a 10 hotbar, but why not? Let's just put it here for the sake of it. So now we're gonna enable the system options. So to any one of you wondering, the parameter bar, I butchered that word. It's gonna be your HP amount bar. This is the XP. You can either have it at the bottom or at the top. Once again, it's all about preference. And your progress bar is gonna be your task bar. What this means, it is this. Let me show you. Whenever I'm casting something, it's gonna be showing here. So you can set up and edit whenever you want this to be placed on your screen, okay? So let's keep on going. I don't want to get too distracted here. So let's say that I wanted here in the middle. This is your class gauge. Normally, mine is already set up on the simplified option. That's how I use it the most. But to anyone who is either new to the job, is most likely going to look like this. This is how it normally looks when you unlock Sage. But as you notice, you can have the simplified option, which is not going to be as fancy as the other one, but it will be a little bit smaller, so that you can set it up anywhere you want. I like it here, and this one, I like it. Honestly, I don't really use this one too much, like being completely honest with you guys. Let me remove that. Yeah, let me move it a little bit. Let's have it here. I don't need to say this, by the way. Like you should be aware of when you press your crash in the skill, but whatever. Moving along. The next thing that we're gonna be looking at is gonna be the target info. Excuse me, your status info, which is gonna be for enhancement and enfeeblements. What does this mean? Enhancements is gonna be your buffs, and enfeeblements your debuffs. So if I buff myself, it's gonna be looking over here. Now I could move it a little bit downwards, like maybe here, and it should be fine. The same goes with the debuff. They could be just right above my HP bar, and I'm gonna be okay with that. And then my cast bar, I can just set it here. Easy. The target info, it is the boss. So here's the HP bar from the boss, and this is the target info status. Let me show you how it looks. If I debuff the boss, the target info is gonna be here. So let's say you want to keep your boss HP bar over here, and you can move this so that it can be right below the HP bar. And then any other debuff that is applied to the boss, let me see if I can show another one. Sadly, I can only show that one, to my knowledge. But the entire list is gonna be going all the way around here, from the top to the top right to the bottom. Okay. So the other option, it is the progress bar for the boss. This is whenever the boss is casting any skill, you will be able to see it. So let's say you just want to have it here, okay? Let me see what else. The status info for others is really not important in my opinion, because this only stands for, let's say, your guild buffs, FC buff, if we wanna get into character for Final Fantasy. So this will only show you your buffs, like if you have weakness, I believe, which is when you die and you get revived. When you have food, all of that you're gonna be able to see it over here. So this one is not really necessary, but you can still have it your own way. Now for the alliance and party, I like to keep my party bar right here. So whenever there are contents like alliance, you only want to see your alliance party members closely, especially if you are playing a caster that is not Pictomancer or Black Mage. Whenever you need to revive a healer from the other alliance, things like that, you can do it. The limit gauge, sadly, I cannot give you a good view on this one, because for that I will need to be in a light party, so I need to be like inside of an actual dungeon. I will try to include some clips by the end of this video, just so that you can see where the limit gauge is gonna be located. It will be with my main, so most likely it's gonna be right on top over here, but you will be able to see it at the end. The main quest guide, honestly, you can set it up wherever you want. Whenever you are inside of a dungeon, this scenario guide should disappear by default, so you will need to worry about that. New Game Plus, I'm gonna lie, I haven't done New Game Plus in this game ever, so I couldn't tell you whether you would like to set it up over here, or if you would like to move it somewhere else, like in the middle of the screen, something like this. But yeah, the remaining options that we have that I haven't disclosed is gonna be the enmity bar. You can set it up here, because normally this is applied mostly if you're playing tank or if you're an actual good player. Sorry if that offends anyone. Whenever you see an enemy casting something, you can stun them. If you're a caster, you can swift cast and slip them. You have multiple options. That is what I'm trying to say. So, another quick detail that I want to share with you guys is that just as you can enable the hotbar, like I mentioned before, you can disable everything with a right click over here. So if there's something that you don't need, like you don't want to see like the main quest, you can right click on it and you can disable that. Now the other part that I wanted to say, it is about customizing your UI elements, because normally it is set up with 100% size, but you can make it bigger for God knows what reason. Maybe if your visibility is bad, you can do this, or you can make it a bit smaller if you feel like it is not needed for that to be as big as it is. But yeah, in that case, notices it is mostly applied whenever you're looting in a dungeon. If I'm not mistaken, it's gonna show you the little pop-up in this area over here. The main menu, you can move it wherever you would like to see it better, like you can set it up here where I have it, or you can move it anywhere else on the screen. This is normally how my AI is looking right now. Should be easier to see if I'm targeting the boss, but you get the drill. But okay, other than that, duty, there isn't really too much. Duty gauge, I don't really recall what this is. Duty action, it happens in a few cases. So there are some alliance where you're gonna have a duty action right over here in this case, and you can click it, or you can even set up a keybind for that. If you want to do it, that's okay. I don't really find it needed. Duty gauge, I wish that I could remember what it is, but I have absolutely no recollections, to be honest with you guys. I may probably come back and give any possible explanation, maybe on a short video, since I missed this one, but I don't think this is even needed. Like, you cannot even remove it if you want to. So yeah, the other thing that we have left over here is gonna be your guild. Like if you wanna see your guild currency, you can have it here. Just to throw in a little extra, in fact, now that I have this here, just so you guys know, if you right click on this, you can change the currency that you want to see. Like if you have it here as currency settings, and you don't want to see your guild, but you want to see your tones, the one that you're about to count, let's say poetics and aesthetics, even these ones, or even your wolf mark if you are doing PvP. You can just right click on it and it's gonna be cycling through all of them. Just wanna throw that one as a little extra, since this is honestly all the information that I really wanted to share over here. But yeah, this is pretty much how you set up your keybinds, your hotbars. Tomorrow we're finally gonna get into combat, where I will be teaching you guys a few little tricks that Final Fantasy XIV does not share with you, like this one, where you can move as you're casting. So, keep on tuned. Sorry if I was yapping too much. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, you know what to do. If you would like to share it with somebody else that may find it useful, please do. Don't forget to drop a comment. I would accept any feedback. And if you're still looking forward for what is to come, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.